Is everyone ready?
All right, yeah, looks like we're ready to get started.
Okay, great. So hi everyone, I'm Anthony. I work for Essence Consulting, where I am a CTO and a cloud architect. We have been building Edil. It's a project management tool built on the internet computer. You will try it soon. I think we will release the beta pretty soon. So it's kind of a Jira meets Trello with a bit of DAO. So you will be able to see some more in the near future. So okay, we are here to talk about how to deploy your first canister locally and on the IC. So here are the useful commands. So the first step is to run the local replica. So with GFX start, you can use the background mode or not. I will show you what it means right after. After, you have two ways to deploy. So the most specific one is GFX build with the canister name. So it builds the canister, and after it's built, you can install the canister on the local replica with the GFX canister install and the canister name. So that's how you can deploy, but you can also use the more simple command, which is GFX deploy, which under the hood runs the two GFX build and install. And when you are ready and want to deploy to the mainnet, you just have to pass the network arguments with IC. And when you have finished to develop locally to stop the replica, you only have to run GFX stop. So how does it look when you're working locally then on the IC? So I'm gonna show you a quick demo. So this is a project that has been templated from the DFX new project name command. So to get what I have right now, you just have to make this DFX new and the name you want. Test app. So I'm not gonna run it, but it gives you all these files. So when you want to start developing, so as I said, you use the GFX start command, which will run the local replica. It's listening on the 8000 port, and right now, now we will deploy our canisters to the local replica. So the definitions is in the tfx.json file. So this is the list of the canister from your project. So here I've called it a live demo. So I have a canister live demo in Motoko for the backend, and for the front end, I have a live demo assets with some configuration, but everything is wrapped up for us with the DFX new command. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna show you how it works. So you just have to use the TFX deploy command. It will build the two canisters, the front end and the back end, and push it to the local replica. So this window has been called through the port 8000. So if I refresh my window with the localhost 8000 with the canister ID from my project, so you can get it. Yeah, if you missed the canister ID of your project, you can go to the .dfx directory, go to local, and here you have a canister IDs file, and you will find the live demo assets. So we will go to the front-end canister with our browser. So it's this canister ID. So here we go. We have the sample dapp. So here I can say, enter your name, Anthony, click me, hello, Anthony. So we have called the backend canister. The code is really simple. We have called the greet method when we clicked on the click me. So it returned hello with the name we passed. Hello, Anthony. So let's say, so I think we're good. We have deployed locally. I just want to show you how it works when you're adding some new features and how you should continue to work. So let's say we want to bring a new. So I have the code prepared on the right side. So let's say we want to save who's the last greeted person. So I introduced a stable variable which is called last greeted, which will be set every time I call the greet method. And I have a new function. I declared a new function called get last greeted person to get the last greeted person. So this is the Motoko code. I just have to add some modification on the front-end side. So here you have the greeting section. So this represents the hello Anthony div. We will add a new one, which is called last greeted, to display who's the last greeted person. And when we open the dapp, we will call the canister to set it. So here is the library, which is updated every time you add some code from your Motoko canister. The declarations are in the declaration of the interface from your canister. So all the methods that can be called from your front end are defined in the declarations. So right here, every time I open the dapp, I will call get last greeted person and update the inner text of the section if the last greeted person was and the response. So let's see if it works. So I have to deploy first. So you have made your changes. You can dfx deploy. So the default by default, it upgrades your canister, so it keeps all the stable variables. So this last greeted should be upgraded. Well, should be kept between deployments. So okay, we deployed the new canister, so I will refresh. So there is no data. So the last greeted person is empty. If I use the click me and then refresh, now I have the last greeted person was Anthony. Let's say I say Docker. I don't know why I have these highlights. So okay, hello Docker. If you refresh, you have the last greeted person, which will be Docker. Okay, fine. Now, with a little bit more complex example, I will add a counter and show you some difficulty that you might encounter with a real-world application. Oh my God. So I will just copy the new code. So here is the counter. So I have a grid count, which is an integer, which starts at 0. Every time I greet someone, I add 1 to the grid count, and I have a function to get the grid counter. Fine, same thing for the HTML. I will add a new section with grid count and call the grid count method in the JS file. So here we have the grid count, then you replace the inner text with the number shared greetings. So as easily as it was before, we tfx deploy. Okay, now I can refresh the page. So you can see that the stable variable has been kept through the deployment. And we have 0 shared greetings. So I will say Anthony and Manu, for example. When I refresh the page, I will have 2 shared greetings. Okay. So we've kept the last greet person and the counter. So that's basically how it works. But let's imagine you're working on a real world project, and maybe let's say you made a mistake by using an integer for the grid count and wanted to use a natural. So a natural is a number which can only be positive. So it's more efficient to declare naturals when it's for a counter. We can go below 0. So natural is a good way to declare your variable. So we could think that we just have to change the type of the grid count and the return type of the get grid count method. But when we do this, we will encounter a problem. I hope, at least. So yeah. So this is a new feature. I was asking for it on the developer forums, and well, now it's done. So it checks before deploying that the interfaces from the old canister and the new canister are compatible to keep our counter. So here it says the variable grid count of previous type int cannot be consumed by a new type net. So if I want to proceed and deploy the new canister, I will lose the counter because since integer and net can be there is no simple conversion for it, the canister will completely lose the old state of the grid count and restart with a 0 counter. So that's not what we want. Imagine you're in a real world application and you want to, well, the main thing you want is keep all the data from your users. So you have to be really careful with this. So here I will say no. So I don't want to approve this canister, and I will fix the deployment. I will fix the incompatibilities to make it work. Okay, so here we go. So the thing is that we will keep the grid count with an integer type and declare a new variable, which we will call grid count V2, which has a natural type. So This is cool. Now in the greet method, I will increment the new variable, and the get greet count will return also the new variable. And to make it work, we will have some glue code to set the grid count v2 with the value of the grid count. So we will do it like this. Okay, so sorry, I just have to paste some libraries. And this is wrong. We will use the post upgrade. Okay. Okay. Post upgrade. Up. So this is some low-level functions from the IC. So there are two hooks when you deploy your canister. So there is a pre-upgrade, which is called before upgrading, and the post-upgrade, which is called after upgrading. So in this case, I'm making some glue code between the two versions in the post-upgrade because when I will deploy, I've introduced a new grid count v2 variable, and I will set it to the integer absolute value of the grid count, which was here before. So we should set the grid count v2 to 2 because we have 2 shared greetings right now. Okay, so it should be good. And I will deploy the new code. So now there shouldn't be an issue with the types. Okay, everything has been deployed. Let's see. Okay, so in the DFX local replica, we can see the debug calls that I made. So in the post upgrade, I've seen that the old counter was 2, the absolute value was 2, and I set it to 2. So here, if I refresh the page, we are able to see that the last greeted person was Manu, and we have 2 shared greetings. So here is a quick look of how you can deploy locally. Now, let's say we are ready to deploy on the IC. We just have to tfx deploy with the argument network IC, and it will build and deploy our code on the internet computer. So here you can see the canister IDs. Okay, now let's see if I can show you the new code. Okay, so here is my code on the internet computer. Don't know if you see canister ID.ic0.app. And let's try the app. So hello Anthony, and if I refresh, the last greeted person was Anthony, and we have 1 shared greeting. So if you want to go to this URL, you will increment the counter and get your last greeted person updated. So here it is for the presentation, and I will let you ask some questions if you have some for me.
So yeah, y'all just go raise your hand if you need to ask a question, and I'll give you permission to use your audio. Serenat?
Hello, I wanted to ask, can you again tell how the pre-upgrade and post-upgrade functions, I guess, worked?
Yeah, okay. So I will show you the code. So yes, this is two hooks that are called when we are deploying the canisters to the IC. Either is the local replica or the main net. So the pre-upgrade code is called before upgrading. So well, I have not prepared something for this hook on the presentation, but let's say you have some complex data types. So I have this kind of case with Edil, the project. I have some huge maps with all the users and their boards and their tasks, everything. And some types can be stored as stable variables. So here, the stable variables are stored in the share in kind of a share memory for in the IC, but only the primitive data types can be stable. So if you have a hash map or I don't know, other complex data types, you have to translate it before storing it in the stable variable. So I don't know, maybe, yeah. Let's take the example where you have a hash map with all your with the principal IDs as key and the users as value. In the pre-upgrade, you will have to translate it to an array. So you will use the hash map, the right hash map method, which can translate to an array. Store it in a store between those two hooks, your hash maps in an array, and then retransform it in the post upgrade in a hash map. So yeah, it could have been great to showcase this in front of you, but yet it's a more complex case. But you can see it in the docs from Definitive. There are some examples. So yeah, there is the pre-upgrade, which is called before installing the new canister, and the post-upgrade, which is called right after, before the application is available. Is it okay for you?
Right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else? I see in the chat some people are asking about stable. I feel like that's been answered though.
Okay.
But
so yeah, the stable variables are stored between canister updates. Whereas if I only add a variable which is called last greeted, it would be erased every time I deploy my canister. So yeah, the two kinds of variables are really important. You can't put everything in a stable variable because it's I think it's costlier for the canister, but well, you can use the hooks to put all your data in a stable variable and get it back in the post upgrade hook if needed.
I see there is a question in the chat. I don't know if that has been answered. There is a question about the cycles in the canister. So did you already put cycles in the canister?
Yeah, I've used the Denk Fosse. How was that called? The Flick Fosse, I think. It's in the docs from Definity. So I've received like $20 equivalent in cycles, which I have in my wallet right here. So yeah, the canister that I deployed has some cycles to work until it's brought to 0.
Right.
Okay, I think there is another question.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation. So when we deploy locally a local replica, so every time we start a new project, there is a new canister front end, back end that is created. Is it right?
Yeah. Well, that's the case if you use the command dfx new, where the standard, well, it's the template is like this. So you have two canisters every time. Yeah.
Okay, so if you have your canister deployed on the IC, and that you want to make change, but you don't want to make it on the IC network, you just have to open the same that yeah, you cannot use the new one. You have to use the same that you used before.
Well, it's two different things. So when you are you have been working locally, then you deployed on the IC, and now you want to code some new features. You just have to rerun the local replica. So here I stopped it. So, okay, so we are in this case. I've just deployed to the IC. So if I want to go back to my code and change some things, I rerun the local replica. And here, if I want to add some, I don't know, maybe I want to add some exclamation points, and I want to deploy it locally. So I just want to dfx deploy without the network equals IC argument, and it will be rebuilt and deployed on my local replica. Here we go. And I have my new changes. And if I want to deploy those changes on the IC, I just have to dfx deploy with the argument network equals IC. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Anthony. My question to you is, currently in the example, it is stable where, but with a primitive kind of data type. But let's say that if it was a public type that we ourselves created in the code, would we still be able to use a stable version of it?
If it was public, that's the question?
No, I mean, if it's a type that we ourselves created, like a structure equivalent of in Motoko.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you can't store it as a stable variable. A structure you can, but all the other types, I don't. Wait a second. I will get. the documents, the docs. All the complex data types can't be stored as stable, but you can store your own structures, yes, and some more primitive data types. So you can't store an hash map, but you can store an array, and there are some methods that can help you to pass from one type to another. So you have to check in the docs. So let's see. Let's say it's an hash map. You can get an iterator for all the keys, all the values, or get an iterator of the entries. So if you have an hash map here, well, you can store it as stable, but you can, in the pre-upgrade, transform the hash map to an array, which is stable, and in the post-upgrade, reconstruct from the array which was stable to your hash map. So you can, if you have an hash map, you get an iterator, but you can construct an array with it, and with a from iterator, you can reconstruct your hash map. So that's how you make your transition of type in the pre-upgrade and the post-upgrade. But the structures can be stable too.
Okay, that makes sense. I think we will be able to break down a complex data type into simpler primitive ones, and that way we can probably store.
Yeah, that's something you have to keep in mind, that you can't well, you have to make sure that you can upgrade your data. So yeah, you have to transform it into more simpler data types and get it back in the post-upgrade hook. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else have any other questions? I see a question in chat. How much data can a stable variable hold? And is more data equal to more cycles?
So what is the first part of the question? Sorry.
The first part is how much data can a stable variable hold? And the second part is how does that affect the cycles, basically? Like how much data?
Sorry, I don't have the exact the exact amount of data that can be stored in a stable variable. I don't want to say anything if I don't know. But yeah, more data equals more cycles. If let's say you have a gigantic array, and every time that you want to display the information of one element of the array, well, the code has to go through this array, and it depends of how you have coded your dApp, but well, it's the computing that will decide how much cycle will be used by the canister. So don't take care of the data type that you choose. And I think also there is a cost for transferring some data from stable to variables that are not stable. But I'm not really sure how it's how it's calculated. Sorry.
Yeah, imagine if you have a massive hash map and you need to do an upgrade to your canister, it could start getting expensive at some point, probably.
So maybe I can try to answer on the limitations of upgrade. So there are a few limitations. The first one is that if you reach the maximum capacity of the heap memory in Motoko, so the heap is 4 GB of memory. So if you go over the 4 GB during the processes of pre-upgrade, the canister won't really like it. You might corrupt your state and lose your data. So that's the first limitation. So that means that probably if you reach around 3 GB of data plus the serialization process, you will probably reach the 4 GB really quickly. So you will be probably losing your state, or at least the pre-upgrade will drop. That's the first limitation. There is also a limitation on the cycle limit, and the cycle per message. So each message has a cycle limit. I don't remember the exact figure, but if your pre-upgrade method is too expensive in cycle, the method will not finish. And I don't know if the state is reversed to what it was before or if it's corrupted, but I mean, it's not something you want. And there is also, I think there is also something with the, that's the only limitations, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard too, but I didn't have the figures. So yeah, there's the heap limit. Yeah. So be careful with your data. Maybe you can use another way to back up your data and push it back to your canister. That's what I heard is a way that has been used in the community since the main concern of the developers is to keep the data safe.
Yeah, and I just want to add on there.
One last thing, there is a library in Motoko, experimental, that is experimental. It's the experimental, wait, let me just find the name. Experimental stable memory, and you can access the Motoko stable memory directly. So you have also 4 GB, but you need to manipulate the byte. So it's not abstracted away for you. So you can use it, but it's more difficult, I guess.
And yeah, so
never tried it.
So one thing I just want to add is Seb for the ICP Squad NFT project, he set up an admin portal that lets you, among other things, download like a list of all of the pre-orders, for example. And the great thing there is I can pull a .csv of all the data that I might need to do an audit of the pre-orders or the users or whatever. So, like making an admin panel like that is a super dope way to kind of help you keep logs separate off of the network in case anything terrible should happen.
Yep, that's a good idea. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we go and wrap on this up?
Yeah, I have just one last thing to say that just came to my mind. Don't screw your pre-upgrade method. So, example, if you modify the pre-upgrade and you put something like assert false, you will lose, like you won't be able to re-upgrade the canister. If you screw the post-upgrade, it's okay because you can always change it. If you upgrade, the post-upgrade will change. But if you screw the pre-upgrade, then you cannot upgrade anymore. So you're screwed forever. So be careful with that.
what even would happen? How would you? I guess the canister would just run out of cycles and sit dormant, and that's it.
Well, if you screw, then the pre-upgrade won't like the pre-upgrade won't complete, and then you won't be able to upgrade the code because the pre-upgrade doesn't work. So you like the canister is just the canister cannot be upgraded anymore, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fun stuff.
I've already lost all my data with a Squid pre-upgrade, but not like this.
Yeah, actually, with ICP Squad, we had an issue. I was storing the data. I was reaching the memory limit really high because of a bad choice, and I got contacted by like the Motoko team language.
I remember that they're like, "Hey, you might want to."
Yeah. Because there was also like a small bug in the Motoko language, and they were afraid that my poorly designed canister plus the bug in the language would corrupt the state.
All right.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So we got crypto Kaiku over here. So what options do you have if the data is growing too big?
So yeah.
Well, I think the only way is to back up your data, maybe with a public function which is called backup, and which only you can access it. Obviously, you don't want all your data to be public, and have another one which can ingest all your previously backed up data into your canister. So you're outside the pre-upgrade, post-upgrade, how do you say, hooks. You just have to call the backup method before upgrading, and after upgrading, you re-put all your data on your canister. I think it's one way to do it, and maybe Seb can tell me if it's wrong or not.
No, it's totally correct. Also, you can. So I guess it depends on your application because each application has its own way to do it. For example, OpenChat. You're probably familiar with it. It's a chat application on the IC. They are using with the V2. They are using one canister per user. They have a multi-canister architecture. So I've seen a question about multi-canister. It's totally doable. I know also IC Drive is doing multi-canister. So basically they have a master canister and they have like one canister per user where the files are stored. So they are pretty safe with the 4 GB limit. You can also use the stable memory, as I've said. And yeah, basically optimize your canister so you won't like optimize your data structure, how you store. Don't store like text if you can store blob. And yeah, but before reaching the 4 GB limit, you are like, I mean, you have some room. And in the future, this limit will be removed. One day, the objective is like for this stable memory and everything like that to be completely abstracted away for developers like us. So yeah, for the moment, we have some limitation, but it's just temporary.
Yep, multi-canister architecture is also another way to go.
Hi2 is asking, could you show us how to screw up the pre-upgrade on the code? I don't know if y'all want to show him maybe, but maybe just like show an example of what would do that. Would that be like a trap?
Yes, Seb, can I?
So I think if you just, I'm not sure though. Let's try with just assert false and like see what happened.
This.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm deploying locally. Don't be afraid.
So your upgrade should pass because you don't have the pre-upgrade method for the moment. But now you have the pre-upgrade method. So now if you try to upgrade again, like you can change, you need to change something like a line or I don't know. Yeah, you can remove like the debug print, I guess.
Well, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I think you're screwed.
Okay, the replica return canister session and failed.
And
yeah,
now, I don't know. Now you cannot save this canister, I think, if I'm right. You just,
maybe
you can reinstall
the code.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to try. Maybe if I
but
deploy.
then you.
Well, I will lose my data.
You lose all your state.
Of course, yeah.
And if you didn't already build an export function, you're definitely screwed for losing all your data.
Sorry, you will lose all the data in the canister.
Or you'll never be able to upgrade. Neither is a good option.
Oh, also, I think the Definitive Foundation is working on it would be really, really nice. Basically, they are working on a way to allow a developer, so the controller of the canister, to download the WASM module of the canister.
Oh, this would be so cool.
So it would mean that you could save the state. It would be very complicated to basically recuperate the state in a nice format because everything is like WASM, but it's possible. So it means you would have a backup.
Okay. Well, this is great. We are still pretty early in the ecosystem. The code which is checking if the interface are compatible has been pushed with the last version of the FX, the 0.9.2. And I've been talking with the Motoko team for a long time for a system that will check before deploying the canister, because before this upgrade of the FX, well, the deployment was successful and you had lost all your data. So it was not cool, but well, it has been addressed, and I have good faith that they will address this kind of WASM backup too.
Yeah, so I see a question like if we make a mistake or change something, our canister is gone. No, that's not true. Like, I mean, for the moment, I want to remind everyone that officially the IC is still in beta right now. So yeah, right now we have backup. We have a risk of losing everything on the IC. I think we will reach a point where it's probably more safe than anywhere else when the IC is mature enough. So right now, okay, you need a backup, but
there's always that risk. There's always a way to really mess up. There's in any kind of development. There's bugs in smart contracts in Ethereum that could lurk there for a while and mess up everything too. So
yeah, if you are working locally, experimenting your upgrades, and if it's pass, you can be pretty sure that it will be okay on the mainnet. There's no worry. If it fails locally, well, you have to rework some parts of maybe the pre-upgrade, the post-upgrade, or maybe think of a backup method and another to put back your data. So if it's worked locally, don't be worried, it will be okay. But yeah, we are still early in the ecosystem. The internet computer is not a finished project, but yeah, as the Seb says, it will be well, in the future we will be able to safely deploy our canisters without the fear of losing our data.
So Abraham's asking what happened to the record of user details on a network canister. So Abraham, when you're on your local computer in your local deployment, that's a completely separate state. the data there is completely separate from what's live on the network. What's live on the network is not affected by what you're doing in your developments console unless you push an upgrade to it.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony. Really appreciate your time. And thanks for everyone joining. I hope you found this as useful as I did. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you a little bit later for the next Open Dev Mentor Hour.
Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks. Bye.